till we get much higher.
Before we get into things, if you just want the quick 20 seconds in and out answer, here it is. First of all, let's keep in mind this thing is $70. I'm not going to recommend a premium to somebody who doesn't have that type of money to spend. Otherwise, the F-4S is probably one of the best grinders for the US tech tree, but it's not a dedicated dogfighter. You're gonna have to learn your own missiles, and you're gonna have to learn how to dodge enemies' missiles. Now, you do have improved maneuverability compared to some other Phantoms, because you have slats, which gives you a little bit of extra pull. But if you're looking to have some dedicated jet dogfighting, the F-5C is probably a better choice for you. But if you're here for a more in-depth analysis, hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This time, we have the F-4S Phantom. So what is this thing? Well, it's just a copy and paste of the F-4J, which is already in the tech tree, but this one pulls a little bit harder because, like I said earlier, you have slats, improving the airflow over the wings as you pull high angles of attack. So this does mean you're going to get guns on in this Phantom more often, but it's a gun pod Phantom, so you're gonna bleed all of your speed doing it, and you didn't have that much speed to begin with because you have this massive weight under the belly of your aircraft. For those of you a little bit more in the know, it actually isn't called Agile Eagle. The Navy's program was different. I mean, it accomplished the same goal, but technically, the F-4E has a different upgrade package than the F-4S. They're different slats that do the same thing. Now, if you've played top tier at all in this patch, you've seen that every single map is a large map, and because of this, I've actually stopped taking the gun pod. Unless you're on the city map, you rarely ever actually get into any, like, dogfight scenarios where a gun will save your life. But personally, I just enjoy having the extra performance to give my missiles a little bit more oomph coming off of the rails, as they'll have more speed going into it. It's really just personal preference, though. Would you rather have the extra flight performance or the extra firepower? It's up to you. Now let's talk about the weapons. I'm not going to go over any ground-pounding ordnance because that's not really my thing. I'm mostly just talking about RRB. But hey, you have a pulse Doppler radar, which means that you can pick up targets based off of their speed rather than their size, which filters out things that aren't moving, like the ground and trees, which would normally get in the way of your radar. Keep in mind, you have to manually turn this mode on though. And the thing that really sucks with this radar is that it's very susceptible to notching, which is when the target you're locking up turns 90 degrees and is no longer moving towards you. But hey, when you do get a target that you can launch at, you have what is one of the best missiles in the game, the AIM-7F. You really can't go wrong with a pulse Doppler radar and AIM-7F. It absolutely carries whatever platform it's on. One thing that it carries over from the tech tree F-4J as well is the helmet-mounted display, which lets you aim your radar and your missiles. And speaking of missiles, you have the AIM-9H, which is basically identical to the AIM-9G, but it uses solid-state electronics, which is not something I'm going to go into because I don't know enough about it. But effectively in-game, they're basically identical. The motor on it burns for a very long time, giving it really good range, and while it only pulls 18 Gs when the standard for top tier is 30, it's still perfectly enough that if you get an actual rear aspect shot off on somebody, they aren't going to be able to dodge the missile just by turning as hard as they can. Now, from my experience, there's two main ways you can play the F-4S. You can either try and climb and joust with the other people at altitude, which means that you're usually going to be fighting against other things that have AIM-7Fs, like F-16s, or you're going to be playing against stuff that have the R-27ER, which is debatably even scarier, like MiG-29s and Yak-141s. This takes a little bit more awareness and effort to not die, but you can net yourself an early kill into the game. But also you can just be wasting your missiles, and if you don't want to do that, you can just try option number 2, which is rushing on the deck. When you fly like 5 feet off of the ground, missiles that are radar guided have a very hard time tracking you if you don't fly in a straight line. So if you can hit the world's slightest curve when you get radar locked and just chill 5 feet off of the deck, then you become a lot less susceptible to radar missiles. But this doesn't stop you from locking people up above you and firing your missiles at them. This is the more consistent strategy, but it's less risk and less reward for the most part, especially considering there are plenty of planes in the game now that can out-drag race the Phantom. Overall though, just feel out what works best for you. Against the meta currently though, the F-4S is kind of just outclassed in every way by the three big dogs, the F-16, the F-14, and the MiG-29. You can't really do much to touch them unless they actively choose to die because they don't know how to defend a missile. But hey, this thing is 11.3, which every once in a while will put you into a 10-3 match with like F-5Cs. In that matchmaker, you're gonna absolutely stomp everything that you face as long as you make sure not to get slow. Pulse Doppler, radar, and aim 7Fs. I'm just gonna keep preaching it. It carries any plane in the game that has it. There is not a single plane in the game right now that has Pulse Doppler and aim 7Fs that is bad. If you already own most of the American tech tree, there's really no reason to pick this up, as it's gonna play identically to the F4J. I mean, maybe like 1 in 50 games you're gonna get into a scenario where you're like, man, I really could have gotten a shot in there if I had the extra AOA that the slats gave me. But other than that, it's mostly just hit and run BVR missile combat. And the F4J already does that for free. But like I said earlier, if you're looking to grind the US tech tree, this thing is fairly solid. You're not the Metamobile 5000 that's going to absolutely stomp everybody that it faces. But like, if you manage your resources correctly and you know who to shoot at, you can average at least 2 kills per game, usually, which isn't like the craziest thing ever. You're not getting your triple ace War Thunder carry match. And coming out of each game, you're gonna make some pretty good money as long as you don't die super early, because rewards are based off of playtime, and the bigger maps give you more playtime now. Even though I have access to Pulse Doppler in this thing though, a lot of my kills come from using the regular search and track lock. A lot of people at top tier don't run chaff. It may not be a majority, but it's still enough where you get situations like this. This man does not have chaff, and I just fired a rear aspect sparrow at him. There is nothing he can do to dodge it. And honestly, I think this is just one of the biggest skill curves to radar combat in general. A lot of people simply just don't know when to be in which mode. So if you're gonna buy this plane, just keep that in mind. That's all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember to subscribe if you enjoyed it. Also, by the time this video is live, I've started my move across the country already. I do have some backstock of footage as I've been grinding out this day 1 of the patch, but once I run out of those clips, there may be a pause in the content. We'll see. I did try and prioritize playing some of the more new and interesting stuff, so we'll see if I can roll out some videos on those over the next few days. Other than that, that's all for this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.